Have you ever come across someone who seems incredibly kind, always helping others, constantly offering a smile, and stepping in when there is trouble? They are often praised as being perfect, as the epitome of goodness. People may say, "This person is wonderful. How can they do everything so perfectly? I wish I could be like them." But what if there's another side to their actions? What if their kindness is not as pure as it seems, but rather a carefully calculated attempt to earn praise and enhance their reputation? In today's story, we will explore a seemingly virtuous leader, celebrated for his benevolence, yet hiding a deeper, darker truth. This story is a powerful reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and it will make you reflect on your own actions and motivations. The beautiful village. In the foothills of a breathtaking mountain, there was a beautiful village named Kamo. The village was surrounded by lush valleys and clean, flowing streams. The land was fertile, and agriculture flourished, allowing the villagers to live in peace and harmony. In spring, the peach trees bloomed, and in summer, the fields turned green, with the harvest of golden rice swaying in the wind. The villagers greeted each other with respect, always offering a helping hand to those in need. This peaceful community was led by a man named Sanghi. Known for his kindness, he was admired by everyone. He was always seen with a gentle smile, his appearance immaculate, and he dedicated his days to helping others. He would visit the elderly to check on their health, speak kindly to children, and listen attentively to the concerns of the villagers. When he heard of an elderly woman who had fallen ill, he would rush to her side, offering herbal remedies and staying up all night to care for her. When a family lost their home in a storm, he would immediately provide shelter and food. His acts of kindness were endless, and the villagers were deeply moved by his generosity. "He's our pride," the villagers would say. "Sani is our model of goodness." His reputation spread beyond the village, and people from neighboring areas came to admire and seek his guidance. Sani was a beloved leader, the perfect image of benevolence. The hidden truth. But behind this facade of kindness, Sani hid a different truth. When the night fell and he was alone, he would stand in front of a mirror and reflect on the good deeds he had performed throughout the day. As he gazed at his own reflection, a smile would form on his face, not from genuine satisfaction, but from a sense of self-adoration. "Today I did well," he would think. "Everyone must have noticed my kindness. That old woman's illness, the villagers helping, all of it is for my reputation. My efforts are surely being recognized." In reality, Sani's acts of charity were driven not by compassion, but by the desire to increase his own reputation. Even when he helped those in need, he was always conscious of how others would perceive him. His actions were always calculated to maximize the praise he would receive, but he was careful not to give too much so that it wouldn't affect his own life. Whenever he saw others perform good deeds, he would become anxious, fearing that their actions would lower his own standing in the eyes of the villagers. If a young farmer helped a poor family, Sani would immediately think of a way to outperform them, planning a grander act of kindness to regain his position. The arrival of the sage. One day, word spread that a great sage, who had attained enlightenment and could see through the true nature of people's hearts, was coming to visit the village. The villagers were filled with excitement, and Sani eagerly prepared for the sage's arrival. He hoped that his actions would be recognized and praised by the sage. He arranged a grand welcome for the sage, preparing the finest foods, fragrant incense, and decorated seating. "This is my chance to showcase my kindness," Sani thought to himself. "The sage will surely admire all I've done for the village." When the sage arrived, he was greeted with great fanfare. "We live by compassion, and I, especially, care for the well-being of the people," Sanghi said, trying to impress the sage. But before he could continue, the sage interrupted him, his eyes piercing, through Sanghi's soul. In that moment, Sanghi felt a chill run down his spine, as though the sage could see through all the facades he had built. The sage's silent gaze unsettled him, and for the first time, Sanghi felt exposed. The sage's lesson. The next day, the sage began a teaching session in the village square. The heart is like a calm, clear water mirror, the sage explained. But our attachments, desires, and the need for validation cloud this mirror, distorting the reflection of our true selves. What is true kindness? Is it something we do for others because we seek their praise? Or is it something that arises naturally from a pure heart? Sanghi felt as though these words were aimed directly at him. His heart began to race, and a sense of discomfort crept in as he realized that his acts of kindness had been driven by a desire for recognition, not from pure compassion. The sage then gave the villagers a challenge. For the next month, I want each of you to perform an action every day that you would normally avoid doing, because it might lower your reputation. You might be asked to do something that others might criticize you for. However, through these actions, you will discover true kindness and purify your heart. The villagers, though puzzled, agreed to the challenge. One man who had been dishonest in his business dealings confessed his wrongdoings and apologized. A wealthy woman secretly provided food to a poor family, without anyone knowing. A young girl, who had been jealous of a friend's success, genuinely celebrated her friend's achievements and expressed her admiration. Slowly, the villagers began to realize the power of unselfish acts. They began to act not for validation, but out of genuine compassion. Sanghi, however, struggled. He performed his acts of kindness with the same desire for recognition, always mindful of how others would see him. Despite the sage's teachings, he could not shake the need for external approval. Facing the darkness within. The sage saw through Sanghi's continued obsession with reputation and called him to meet him privately. Under the glow of the setting sun, the two sat beneath an old tree. The sage looked at Sanghi with kindness and said, "Sanghi, within your heart are three poisons: greed, anger, and delusion. These poisons cloud your heart and prevent you from truly understanding the nature of kindness. No matter how many good deeds you perform, as long as these poisons remain, you cannot reach true benevolence." Sanghi felt a deep discomfort. For the first time, he had to confront the truth about himself. The reputation he had built was a false facade, and his true motivations were rooted in ego and desire. But if my actions help so many people, does that not count for something? Sanghi asked, his voice trembling. Wasn't I still helping? The sage responded gently. Even good deeds performed with selfish intentions are not truly kind. True kindness comes from a pure heart, free from the desire for praise or recognition. Sanghi spent that night reflecting on his actions and motivations. He realized that his entire life had been built around the need for validation from others. His kindness had never been for the benefit of others, but to satisfy his own ego. Transformation. The next morning, Sanghi made a decision. He would no longer hide behind his reputation. In front of the entire village, he confessed his faults. For many years, I have only performed good deeds to seek your approval. I have not acted from a place of true kindness, but from a desire to increase my own reputation. I have learned, through the sage's teachings, that true kindness is not about seeking praise, but about acting with a pure heart, without expecting anything in return. The villagers were shocked, but they could see the sincerity in Sanghi's words. His confession was filled with a new honesty, a humility that had not been present before. From that day forward, Sanghi began to change. He no longer sought grand gestures of kindness. Instead, he focused on performing small, unnoticed acts of goodwill, with no expectation of recognition. At times, his old habits resurfaced, and he found himself longing for validation. But each time, he caught himself and learned to let go of his ego. The village began to change as well. The villagers stopped performing good deeds for the sake of others' approval and started acting out of genuine compassion. The atmosphere in the village became warmer, filled with true love and understanding. Conclusion. As the sage prepared to leave, he imparted one final piece of wisdom. True kindness arises from a clear heart. It is not driven by the need for approval or praise, but from a deep, natural compassion. Remember this and practice it every day. Sanghi smiled, feeling lighter than he had in years. His heart was no longer burdened by the weight of his ego. He was finally at peace with himself, and he knew that the road ahead would be one of true compassion. This story serves as a powerful reminder for us all. We all have the tendency to seek validation and praise, but true kindness comes from a heart that is free of these desires. By gradually purifying our hearts and letting go of attachment, we can move closer to genuine benevolence and create a more compassionate world around us. Thank you for watching. If you found this video meaningful, please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's continue exploring the wisdom of Buddhism together, and let it guide us toward a brighter, more fulfilling life.